fasting tomorrow? Right? Yes, I am. Hey, doesn't your breath smell terrible? Yes, it does, right? So be sure to choose good friends, okay? And the third is this. There's an advice. Let me tell you a little story, and this is where I finish, inshallah. Mu'adh bin Jabal, he's one of the companions of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Very young guy, by the way, not old. And when in Yemen, there was a group of, anyone here Yemeni? MashaAllah, you know the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Al-Imanu Yemeni, that Iman is Yemeni. So he was praising the people of Yemen, and he was saying that they have strong Iman. MashaAllah, so you guys have strong Iman, inshallah. So the people of Yemen, there was a group of people that converted to Islam. And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had to send them a teacher, right? So it's like you guys have, mashallah, Brother Ahmad, your youth director, right? So like when there's a group of people who need to learn about the deen, you send someone to go teach them. So the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he sent Mu'adh. He sent Mu'adh bin Jabal. And Mu'adh was one of the very unique sahabi, because what happened was, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam told him straight up, Wallahi Mu'adh inni uhibbuka. Wallahi Mu'adh, I love you. Some of the other companions got jealous. They were like, why does the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam tell him that he loves him, but he never told me that? Right? Why do they have that kind of romance? But I can't. I don't have that relation with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The scholars said it's because Mu'adh spent the most time studying the deen. Because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Mu'adh knows the most out of all of you in halal and haram. Meaning that he studied the most, okay? So the point is of the story, let me continue. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he's sending Mu'adh. He has chosen Mu'adh to leave. And this is towards the end of the Madini period, meaning it's close to the passing of the life of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he's leaving the city of Medina, he's leaving the city, and he's walking Mu'adh. And what he would normally do is that he would walk the Sahaba who were leaving for a journey, he would walk them to the edge of the city, okay? He would walk them to the very edge of the city, and then he would say, okay, ma'asalam, assalamu alaikum, Allah ma'ak, Allah be with you, and we'll see you soon. With Mu'adh, he kept walking Mu'adh further and further, radiallahu anh. The Sahaba said that we had never seen the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam walking somebody as far as he walked Mu'adh. Like he walked him super far, radiallahu anh. He turns to Mu'adh and he says to him something that causes Mu'adh to start crying. He turns to him and says, "Man, Mu'adh," and I want you to listen to this. He didn't say, "Oh, Mu'adh, I finished the last cheeseburger," right? Mu'adh started crying. He didn't say, "Oh, Mu'adh, you have to, Ramadan is 300 days now, not 30 days." Mu'adh started crying. Right? Listen to why Mu'adh started crying. Listen to, and ask yourself, if you and I were Mu'adh, would we start crying? He says, "Mu'adh, when you come back next year, I won't be here. When you come back next year, I'm not going to be here anymore." Mu'adh knows what the Prophet ﷺ is telling him. I'm going to die soon. Upon these words hitting the ears of Mu'adh bin Jabal, tears start streaming down his cheeks. What made the companions great, little side note, what made them great, they could not imagine living without the Prophet ﷺ in their life. Bilal, you guys know Bilal, the Mu'adhin? You know when the Prophet ﷺ died, you know what he did? He left Medina. He went to Syria, Sham. He never came back, except one time. Because he couldn't live in the same city where the Prophet used to live and not see the Prophet in the streets. He couldn't go to the same masjid the Prophet used to be in charge of and not see the Prophet at that masjid. That's love. So Mu'adh starts to cry. And the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ tells him, "Ya Mu'adh." He takes him, he's like, "Listen, I need you to be strong. You have a mission." And he gives him 3 pieces of advice. And these are the last 3 pieces of advice I'll give to you. Okay? Says number 1, he says, "Ittaq Allaha haythu ma kunt." Says, "Ya Mu'adh, have taqwa wherever you are. Don't ever be in a situation where you forget Allah. Always remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there, that He's watching you, He's listening to you, and most importantly, He loves you. And He doesn't want you to make those mistakes. Ittaq Allaha haythu ma kunt." Be mindful of Allah wherever you are. This advice is especially important to you and I here today in America. We live in a society that is perpetually trying to make us forget our Lord. All the time. It's trying to make us follow other things. Trying to make us do other things. In America, in Chicago, growing up as a kid, I grew up during the MJ era, okay? Chicago is the best basketball city in the country, right? I grew up in the MJ era. It didn't matter how bad this dude sucked on the court. He's still going to let his tongue hang out. He's still going to jump from the free throw line, barely make it to the other side of the circle, right? He's still going to, spread his legs and pretend like he's dunking on the 3-foot hoop. You guys understand something. When you love somebody, you try to be like them in every single way. And when you love somebody, man, you don't forget about them. So having taqwa of Allah is that you have such a good relationship with Allah that you don't forget. And even when you make mistakes, you turn back immediately and say, Allah, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I'm weak. Please forgive me, Allah, I'm weak. So he told them, ittaqillaha haythuma kunt. Don't ever forget Allah. Then he says, وَاتْبِعِي السَّيِّئَةَ الْحَسَنَةَ تَمْحُوهَا. This is beautiful. This is probably my favorite part of the advice. I'll tell you why. He said, make sure that you follow every mistake with a good deed. Because why? تَمْحُوهَا. What does that mean? It will clear it out. It will erase it. You know why this is beautiful? Because the Prophet ﷺ is not telling Mu'adh to be perfect. A lot of times we feel when we're learning Islam that we have to be perfect Muslims. We can never make a mistake. We make a mistake, we're done. It's over. The Prophet ﷺ is telling Mu'adh, when you make a mistake. By the way, he didn't tell him, go ahead and make all the mistakes you want, okay? Here's the ijazah, go make all the mistakes you want. No. But he said, yeah, Mu'adh, you're human. When you make mistakes, don't beat yourself up about it, and definitely don't become accustomed to it. But when you make a mistake, catch yourself. And no matter how bad the mistake is, immediately do a good deed to clear it out. When you do a good deed, it will erase it. التائب من الذنب كمن لا ذنب له. The Prophet Muhammad said, the one who makes tawbah from a sin is exactly like the person who never made a sin in the first place. And this goes against human nature, by the way. When we make a mistake, do we try to run to the source of the consequence? Yes or no? You guys ever played baseball growing up? No, you're Arab, you don't play baseball, right? I'm half white, so I played half baseball, okay? But in Chicago, growing up, we used to play baseball and stuff like that. You guys ever seen the movie when the baseball goes through the window of a neighbor and it shatters the window? What do all the kids do? They scatter, right? But I was really fat growing up, so I was slowest. So everyone leaves and then the neighbor comes out and I'm like, and they're like, you. And I'm like, dang it. It's like, why Krispy Kreme? Why? Right? I actually wasn't that big growing up. I was actually pretty athletic. But anyways, I had 6% body fat. So, then I tore my ACL. It's a sad story. So, the point is that when you make a mistake, what happens? You want to run away. You don't want to encounter the mistake. You don't want to deal with it. Human beings, how many of you, when it's final exam week, you start to sleep? Or you start cleaning your room? You do random stuff because you just want to avoid it. You don't want to engage with the conflict. You want to avoid it. That's human nature, right? Yes or no? We don't want to, but you know what? Allah is different than everybody else. He's not the same. We try to avoid others because we know they're going to drop the hammer on us, right? So that neighbor that we broke that window, I know that neighbor is going to say, look, you have to go to your parents, tell them my window costs this much, get a check for me, come over, give me the money, let me replace this window. I don't want to deal with that. But Allah is different, and we have to run back to Allah when we make a mistake because He's not going to drop the hammer on us. In fact, the quicker we run back, the better the situation will be because He'll forgive us. And He told the angel on our left shoulder to hold the pen for hours and don't write the mistake of my servant, He said, because if they make tawbah in that time, don't write it, it will never have existed. So when you make a mistake, don't feel like you have to run away from Allah out of shame. Run back to Him in regret. Ya Allah, forgive me, please. I'm sorry. It's okay to say sorry. Make a habit of saying sorry. I've never seen someone say sorry and it ruin a relationship. It's only made it better. Unless you say sorry, right? Like that ruins it, okay? But if you say I'm sorry, then it's a valid apology, and that's made it better. So he says, وَاتْبِعِي السَّيِّئَةَ الْحَسَنَةَ تَمْحُوهَا. So when we make mistakes, don't wait. Just fix it immediately. Do something good, it will erase it. Then the final one, he said, وَخَالِقِ النَّاسَ بِخُلُقٍ حَسَنٍ. Treat people well. And he didn't say treat Muslims well. He said treat everybody well. Every single person. You know why? Because when someone gets religious, when someone starts practicing the deen, it becomes very easy to treat people bad. No one pushes people away from Islam more than religious people, I feel. So what he's telling them is, look, you have taqwa, now you're going to make tawbah. but make sure you don't ever leave people hanging. Make sure you never ever make people feel like they don't belong. Don't ever judge people. وَخَالَقِ النَّاسَ بِخُلُقٍ حَسَنٍ. Treat people well. Everybody. Don't go around calling people kuffar, kafir, this and that. What does that do? How does that help your relationship with them? You know what's beautiful about the surah, قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ? You know that surah? Everyone know that surah? قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ. What does قُل mean? Say. It's a command. فعل right? It's a command to who? In this case, the Prophet ﷺ. You know what Zamakhshari, the famous Mufassir, he said about this? He said, why did Allah tell the Prophet, قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ? Because it wasn't in the character of the Prophet ﷺ to address non-Muslims as kuffar. Because he used to address them with a little bit more softness. But Allah was telling the Prophet, look, these people are treating you so bad. You have to be firm with them. So the character of the Prophet is not to go walk around and make people feel like they're losers. Right? We don't do that. Especially with our family. Inshallah. Okay? And he let Mu'adh go with this, and this was his wasiyah, his final will to Mu'adh bin Jabal radiyallahu anhu. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us tawfiq. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to purify our hearts and to give us the ability to have taqwa.